Here we I am. Here we I am. Here we are. Here I am. Well, whatever. It is time for today's lesson. If you saw the quote from earlier, why do I do that? I noticed that on some of my other videos. I really need to stop doing that. Let me know if you noticed it too. But anyway, I'm going to try to stop doing it now. Okay, let me try. Here we are for today's lesson. If you saw the post from earlier, it said, what other people think about you is none of your business. What you think about yourself is all that really matters. You would be amazed at how many people struggle with the opinions of other people and how it holds them back, keeps them back from doing the things they really want to do, and in a lot of instances, from even attempting to do the things they want to do. And of course, I have a story that goes along with it. I'm full of stories, and I love to tell stories, not lies. Remember, you were a child and you couldn't say the word lie. You had to say, you're telling a story. Well, this is not that kind of story. This is actually a true story. So, years ago, I was traveling with one of my friends, and we were going to an event, or a series of events, and we were going to be gone over the course of several days. And from the first day, my friend would say to me, hey, Deirdre, what do you think people would say if, and then she'd ask me a question. And I'd look over it and go, like, I don't know, I don't care. And she just kind of looked back at me, and then, we'd progress through a portion of the day. And then later on, she'd say, well, Deirdre, what do you think people are going to think if, and I would look over at her and say, I don't care. And lo and behold, she just kind of, looked back at me. Okay. And then we go on. And then later on, she'd start another question. Well, hey, Deirdre, what do you think people would do if? And of course, I look over at her and say, what? I don't care. So by the third day or so, after her starting all of her questions with, hey, Deirdre, what do you think people would say, do, think, whatever? She looked over at me and she got ready to ask me a question. She said, hey, Deirdre, what do you think the people would say if? And then she said, you know what? Never mind. I know what you're going to say. You don't care. And I looked at her and said, yeah, because I don't care. What other people think about me is really none of my business. It doesn't matter. All that really matters is what I think about myself. That is what drives me to be able to do what I do, to be able to accomplish and achieve the things I want to accomplish and achieve. And so many times we allow the opinions, thoughts of others, their doubts about us, their doubts oftentimes about themselves. If I were you, yeah, you're not. If it were me, no, I'm not. So you don't have to take those people's opinions and allow it to hinder you from doing what it is you want to do. So when there's something that you want to embark on, accomplish, achieve, think about it. What is it that I want to do? What is it that I believe I can do myself? It looks like my video is freezing, but I am not about to start this whole video over again. It looks like the sound is still going. And just in case it's freezing, just in case it's freezing for me and not freezing for you, we're going to roll with it. So there, oh shoot, I did it. Anyway, there's our left. There is our lesson for today. Hashtag words of wisdom, hashtag life lessons, hashtag listen and learn. What other people think about you is none of your business. All that really matters is what you think about yourself. Have a good one. Signing off, even if I'm frozen.